Welcome everyone to this video about making useful agents with AI. My name is Slavi. I've been in the AI space now for a little over 3 years, and I've worked with tons of different entrepreneurs and businesses, and I've built a lot of different products and services for them and for myself as well. So I know a lot about AI. It's been basically my life for the last 3 years. I basically breathe it in and out, and I am also the founder of StartYourAIBusiness.com and the community on Skool. You're more than welcome to join. It is completely free. We do Q&As on Mondays and Thursdays, and you're more than welcome to join and ask any questions that you would like. But the reason I was inspired to make this video is because what I see a lot is people want to create these AI agents, and they automatically think to themselves, okay, if I'm able to create an agent, whatever that means these days, and I'll give you my definition of that here in a little bit, but if I'm able to create this agent that's able to do all of these things, then that must mean that I should be able to sell it really easily, right? Like people would love to actually purchase something like this and be genuinely useful. No. Here's the reality, is that the product or service, whatever you want to call it, that you're going to build with this AI agent or automation is probably going to be terrible, and it's not really going to solve that many problems for whoever you plan to sell it to. That is for the majority of people who end up building agents. And the purpose of this video is to show you the framework and the thought process behind building an AI agent. And what does that even mean to build an agent for somebody or a business? And so with this video, I'm hoping to give you that framework. I'm hoping to give you some way to kind of think about this and inspire you to build something that's genuinely useful. And so with that, let's talk about what makes a useful agent, okay? So the first thing that makes a useful agent, and this might sound obvious, but it needs to be unique. And the reason I would focus on making a unique agent is because in today's world, you've got entrepreneurs and these AI experts creating all of the low-hanging fruit agents are going to be the ones that are taken first. So anything that's really easy to build, okay? So like an automatic email responder, or like this agent that can check your email and tell you all these different things, like all of these low-hanging fruit agents are going to be occupied very quickly, and you're not going to really be able to sell them for a lot of money. So that's the other thing that I think is really important that you note here, is that if you do go for a low-hanging fruit agent, meaning you build something that is really easy to build, anybody else can do it, then more than likely you're not solving a problem that's worth a lot of money to these business owners or to these people who are going to end up using your product. So make it unique. This should be something that you can't easily find on YouTube on how to build. This should be something that you had to actually dig a little bit to find, okay? And that leads me into the next thing, is these agents need to actually have a specific purpose, right? So let me move myself up here real quick. So they need to have a very, very specific purpose. And what that means is, this agent shouldn't technically or really be applicable to many different industries or businesses, okay? You're getting in a very generalized space there, and it's also a very competitive space. And in order to build something that is competitive and yet generalized, it has to be really, really, really good. And more than likely, the person that's watching this video right now, no offense to you, but just statistically, you probably don't have enough technical experience to compete against those people. And if you do decide to choose a very specific niche that has a very specific purpose, and you're going to build this agent for that niche, it also helps you zone in on a particular customer avatar who hasn't already been pitched one of these generalized agents that can do all these things. So if you build an agent for, a real estate agent, let's say that, or for, it could be any industry out there. If you choose a very specific area, like real estate agents, and you really dig in deep and figure out what are their problems that they face on a day-to-day basis, how can the agent that I'm working on actually solve these problems? So that's the other thing I'd be thinking about. And so if you're able to accurately figure out what these problems are, which would typically take a lot of research, and you might want to interview a couple of agents, which is also a really good idea. But if you're able to figure out what these problems are accurately and build real valuable solutions to these problems, then you are now on the path to creating a useful agent, something that somebody might pay a lot of money for, okay? And the third thing is it needs to be easy to operate. What does that even mean? The number one thing I see happen is somebody builds this system, okay? And I'm going to call agents systems because that's kind of what they are. There are a lot of different AI, models and databases and integrations all kind of working together. But one of these systems gets adopted by an industry, and someone's like, okay, I'm going to use this AI agent. The biggest issue that most people run into once they get their first sale is that they don't properly account for how much it's going to cost, and they don't properly account for how much scale or usage this AI agent is going to have within that industry. And so that's where I want to stop you and say, okay, once you've built something useful, it's really important to calculate how much it's going to cost. And so if you miscalculate that, then you're in deep trouble, to say that very nicely. And so those are the three things I would really focus on. Is it's easy to operate, meaning if something bad happens when your customers start using your agents, you can go in and easily fix it. And ideally, nothing bad should happen, which means you've tested it thoroughly in the best environments that you can to say, okay, I've done everything I can to make sure that this is not going to break. Yes, it's very, very reliable. So that is what I would really heavily focus on. And so that leads me to the next thing. So a unique agent is something that you didn't watch a YouTube video to learn how to make this agent, right? That is very low-hanging fruit. If there's a YouTube video out there about how to make an agent, that's great. But you should watch that YouTube video to learn about automations and agents in general to help you come up with an agent that you can then sell to a particular avatar client or customer. So yes, unique agents are not agents that you can find somewhere on the web. This uniqueness should come, there should be not very many people out there who are thinking about that idea just like you are. So this may take thinking about what specific network you're in, what are the different connections that you have? Do you know any business owners? Do you know any people in accounting or finance or law or anywhere? Do you know anybody that you can interview and ask questions and say, hey, what are some of the problems that you had? It could be your mom, it could be your dad, it could be your brother, it could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be whoever. But if you're able to get some insider knowledge on an industry, you're on the right path. All right. And a specific purpose. So this is you really have to learn a lot about your client and their business to make this agent work properly. That's what really specific purpose means. So if you interview a real estate agent and you find out that they have a lot of issues dealing with, lead flow. So they get leads, but they're not able to respond to them because they're actively showing a house to a customer or a client. And so most real estate agents want to respect that time. And so if they're inside of a house showing it, they don't want to pull out their phone and answer the call. So how do you solve that problem? Okay. But that's one of those questions that you would want to ask. Okay. And I'm not going into how to create an agent for real estate agents right now, but I'm just trying to give you the framework, the thoughts that you should have before actually going in and building your agent, in the first place. And so that's one of those things. And so what are some of the other problems that this real estate agent might have? And I'll tell you, in the real estate niche, and you can apply these principles elsewhere, they do these things called open houses. And so you can literally go on the web and find an open house and go over there and ask them. Or better yet, you could call them. All right. And this takes a little bit of, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to do if you're not familiar with it, but it's something that can be done. And if you really want, create an agent that's really good at interviewing people in industries, and then use the data you get from that information to see how, one, they respond to AI products, and how, two, if this agent actually works and your agent skills are pretty good. So anyways, real estate's a great example of how to build how to interview a certain niche and to figure out all of their problems. And so if you're able to, ideally interview 10 different people in a specific industry and really try to get all of their problems down, which this is something that I've done. If you're able to put all those problems on a page, let's say interview one's on page 1, interview two's on page 2. So if you've got 10 pages of notes, you can compare notes and say, okay, all of these agents shared this exact same problem. And so I should really focus on my agent solving this problem first, whether it be managing leads. So somebody calls in, it goes to voicemail. Instead of going to voicemail, connects them to your agent. Your agent just tries to figure out what are they calling about, if they can help in the time being, and your agent has the ability to send you, summary call reports and that kind of stuff. And so that's where the specific purpose comes in, right? So you want to figure out how exactly can I tweak this and say, there's nothing else out there that exists. This is made specifically for you and no one else, just real estate agents. I've spent months or weeks, I've spent a lot of time researching this stuff. And so this is a very specific real estate agent, AI agent, that was made to help your business and make you, give you a little bit more free time so you can actually go and, one, do better business so you don't have to worry about, angry customers because you didn't pick up your phone. And two, you can actually focus on, real estate and, showing houses and worrying about contracts and that kind of stuff. So that's one example. You could apply this to many other industries like, construction. You could apply it to banking. You could apply it to contracting. It could be whatever, right? There's anything that has to do with clients is a big kind of first low-hanging fruit that I would go after. That's pretty easy to find. And now the higher you go up the tree, meaning the more specific you get into that, then I think the higher likelihood you're going to have, if you can properly pitch your customers your product, the higher likelihood you're going to have of actually getting them to say yes. Okay? So that is how to make a specific agent and kind of look at that as a framework. And so easy to operate is our third thing here that makes our agent genuinely useful. And why I say that this is a characteristic that makes it useful is because if you've ever been in a production setting, and this is what most new people don't understand, is that you're dealing with technology, and technology is not perfect. Just because you're using make.com doesn't mean that make.com is going to run perfectly 100% of the time. That's something you can't control, right? So you have to put in guardrails and ways to handle these situations as good as well as possible. And it's never going to be 100% error-free, but your goal is to make this agent 100% error-free, reliable, and ideally accurate. And so if something goes wrong, you want to be able to get in there and figure out what went wrong quickly and fix it. So that's part of the easy to operate. And the other thing about easy to operate is that the people who are using your agent, they know exactly what your AI agent is capable of doing, and they know exactly how to do it. Okay, so they know what it can do, right? And they know how to actually get that agent to do it, right? If they're like, okay, send me an email or send this customer an email about this event that's happening next Friday, and the AI agent doesn't understand the intent and does something totally different, that goes against this principle of being easy to operate. Okay, so that's one of the things that will get your customers to cancel. And two, you're not going to get any good reviews or referrals from that customer if you start getting a bad product out there. So but yeah, so this agent must also be cost efficient. So that's one of the biggest things I think you should take away from all of this. And it might not be super apparent right now, but if you're able to make this agent cost efficient, all that does for you is it leaves more room for you to integrate more AI power into your agent's functionality. So that's a little bit hard to understand without getting super deep into agents. But yes, that is one of the things I would highly focus on, is making the agent very efficient, meaning if you can use cheaper models like GPT-4o Mini versus a GPT-4o or Claude 3.5 Sonnet, then I would go for GPT-4o Mini. And then if you ever need to add some more functionality on there, and that requires you to jump up into the GPT-4o category, well, you can, because you left that extra room there. You didn't go all in at first. And so that's what I can say is figure out how to create a working product first, and then try to strip it down, try to strip those costs down as much as possible so you can get the cheapest operating agent as that you can. Ideally, if you can get this thing basically free, then anything that your customers are paying you is just going to be all profit. And that allows you to continue to make your product better, because now you can hire people to help you do other really cool stuff that'll make your agent even more useful. And so, yes, you want enough room for you to add new features without charging the client extra. So that's the other perk, is if you do leave some cost room there, meaning that your agent is really, really cheap to operate and you've got a lot of profit built in, then you can go in and add new features, which may make the operating costs a little bit more expensive, but it's making the agent way better. And that is going to make your client stick with you longer. One of the biggest things I will say working in the AI space I've learned is that clients love to see improvements. They love to see updates. So if you've got a real estate client and you just let them know, like, hey, Jesse, guess what? Your AI agent now can do this, right? And after they've been using that for a couple of weeks, they'd be like, oh man, that's so cool. And the other thing is, once your clients start using the product, why this is important to leave room, is they will figure out, or not they, but you will figure out all of the better features that you could add, right? And so just by them using it, you might get feature requests. You might get them giving you some tips like, hey, I don't even need this tool or this feature. Remove that off the agent, right? I don't even need that. It's just getting stuff confused. And so that's important feedback, so you can strip it down. You might also get the opposite and say, hey, it'd be really cool if this agent could do this. And so now you adding that extra functionality will work, because you spent a lot of time trying to strip the costs down as much as possible without significantly reducing the quality of the agent. So that's really important. And so that is how you make really useful agents. In my school community, I go through OpenAI, Claude, Vappy. I go through all of these platforms where you're actually able to build agents. And I go in depth about exactly how you need to prompt the agent. I go in depth about exactly how you manage your costs. I go in depth about all of that, including the setup, including the costs, including the acquisition. My community is all about starting your own AI business. It's completely free, and the videos in there are available right now. All you have to do is just go over to school.com/AI wizard and just click the join button, and you'll be in there in a few hours. And so I'd love to see you in there so we can actually build these agents together. And if you're up for it, you're more than welcome to join in on the Q&As that happen Mondays and Thursdays. As of right now, that could change in the future, but right now we have it twice a week at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and I'd love to actually help you out as much as possible. If there's anything I can do to make you a better AI expert and an AI entrepreneur, it would be my pleasure to be able to assist you. If this video brought you any value, it would be great if you could leave a like, a subscribe, even leave a comment. All of this stuff really genuinely does help the algorithm. It helps me. It helps spread this information to more people. And yeah, I appreciate you watching. If there's anything you need, please let me know. And I hope you build some amazing, useful agents. Bye now.